Hi, I'm Bill Bradley. Join me for a recent excerpt of American Voices. Christy Martin was a professional boxer. In 2009, she held the WBC female Super Welterweight title.
Ladies and gentlemen, she is known as the greatest female fighter of all time, a three-time world champion, the coal miner's daughter, Christy Martin!
She's been inducted into several boxing Hall of Fames. But what people didn't know is that she was a victim of domestic abuse. In 2010, her husband stabbed and shot her. Christy survived the stab wounds, the gunshot wound, and she went on to help others. There's a show on Netflix about her story. It's called Untold, Deal with the Devil. She's also the author of a book, Fighting for Survival, My Journey Through Boxing Fame, Abuse, Murder, and Resurrection. Christy started Christy's Champs to help people dealing with emotional and physical abuse. Christy Martin's here with me now. Christy, thanks for being on American Voices.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be on with you.
So you're such an important voice when it comes to domestic abuse because you were in the ring and yet you were the victim of domestic abuse. Can you explain to people what it was like for you and how trapped you felt?
It's very tough to explain because so many people that knew me, Christy Martin, the boxer, they thought that I was too physically strong to be in a domestic violence abuse situation. But what people don't sometimes understand is domestic violence isn't just about bruises. Domestic violence takes all shapes and forms. It is oftentimes financial, mental, emotional. Abusers like to isolate their victims. There's so many different forms and different avenues of being the abused that so many times is overlooked. So that's why it's very hard for people to sometimes understand how I could have been in that situation, but I was.
Yeah, well, and during that time, you were this huge boxing champ, but your husband was telling you the world hated you and you didn't have any fans. You said that being in the boxing ring gave you solace. How so?
Well, that's exactly what he did. And there we go for the isolation. He convinced me that the boxing world hated me, the fans hated me, that my family hated me, that even I didn't have true friends, that my friends only wanted to be around me because they wanted to go see Mike Tyson fight. So he was able to mentally break me down. And I started to believe these things.
I can't imagine having your husband, you're a huge champ, and he's telling you the world hates you. I mean, what goes through his mind?
Any time and every time something positive would happen, even as far as being on the cover of Sports Illustrated, he was able to convince me that it wasn't about me, even though I really knew better. And I definitely know better today. But signing with Don King, being my boxing promoter, having the WBC title, working with people like Jill Diamond, he would convince me, he had me convinced 100% that it was all about him, that he had made all these things happen, not me, not my efforts in the boxing world, not the really pretty good fights I put on. But in the boxing ring, I felt like that was the only time that I was truly in control of myself. And it was okay to let this aggression and this anger that I had bottled inside of me, it was okay to let it out. We're supposed to be aggressive and sometimes brutal. And, we're looking for that great win and the knockout. That was my whole game. I wanted to go knock you out. And everybody looks at boxing, or I think most people look at boxing as a physical challenging sport. And of course it is physically challenging, but it is so mentally challenging. The bell doesn't just ring and you go out there and fight. You have to you set traps. So it's you want to make your opponent do move A, so you're going to counter with B. I loved my job. I looked for that big knockout, and I like to hear the crowd cheer. I mean, I wanted to entertain the crowd.
How much did you train?
Oh, I trained. I was a gym rat. I was in the gym like 4 or 5 hours a day, whether that be boxing training, cardio. I did my running, did my weightlifting. And then I would also help. I had an amateur team at the time, and I would help the younger fighters. And then people that just came in to train that wanted to just do the boxing workout simply for that, as a workout, to lose weight, to get in shape. I think boxing is a great workout for women or men that are in domestic violence situations, because not physically for them to react to their abuser, but the confidence that it gives you. You know, you start getting better at hitting the speed bag, you're getting better at jumping rope, you're getting better, your confidence starts to grow as you get into better physical condition. And I feel like that if you're confident, you're less likely to be victim of an abuser.
So there you are, the champion, and yet here's your husband who tried to kill you. What do you remember about the day your former husband tried to kill you?
Yeah, I woke up that morning, and unfortunately, he had been telling me that if ever I left him, he would kill me, and he had been telling me this for about 20 years. I actually woke up that morning knowing this is the day that he's going to try to kill me, and I went back home anyway, really because I knew that he was the kind of person that would hunt me down, and because he would hunt me down, I could be around other people that I would be putting in jeopardy, and I didn't want to do that. So I felt like I needed to go home and basically face him eyeball to eyeball, and let's see what's going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. I went home, and he came into the bedroom and told me he had something to show me. And what he had to show me was a knife that he stuck in me several times, ruptured my lung. And then he actually sliced my calf muscle almost completely from my leg. When I didn't die fast enough, he decided to shoot me.
Oh, so he shot you in the same time that he slashed you?
He did the stabs, then he pistol whipped me, and he thought he left me laying on the floor for about 30 minutes. And I guess as he walked in and out and I wasn't dying fast enough, he decided he would shoot me. So as he stood at my feet with my own pink 9mm, and I said to him, "You don't have the balls to shoot me," he shot me and missed my heart by about 3 inches. But
oh my God,
God is good. And I feel like that I'm still here talking to you about domestic violence because that's why God left me here.
So you were attacked with a knife, and then you were shot, and you're in the house with this butcher. What happened then?
So after he shot me, I'm assuming I passed out, or he thought I was dead. And at that time, I actually prayed very hard, God, please show me some way out. And it was immediately I heard the shower water turn on. When I heard that shower water turn on, I knew that was God's answer to me. Now's the time. If you're going to get out, it's now. And I was able to get up. I took my car keys, picked up the gun he shot me with. And now I had tried to get up numerous times throughout the ordeal. And every time blood would squirt out of these holes and I would be so scared I would lay back down. But this time I got up, I got the gun, I got my car keys, and I went out the front door to my car. When I get to the car, I realized I have the wrong keys.
Oh.
So my choices are to go back in the house where Jim is, or to go to the middle of the busier highway and try to, as I say, carjack somebody. And that was the choice I decided on, was to go to the middle of the road and just try to get somebody to stop and help me.
And so someone did?
The first person came by me and he just kept passing by, and I just couldn't understand how somebody could not stop to help me. The second car came by and he stopped. And when he stopped, I handed him the gun. I didn't want him to think in any way that he was in danger. And I got in his back seat and I just sort of, "Please don't let me die." And he took me straight to the hospital. As we were driving to the hospital, I told him, "Excuse me, sir, I'm so sorry, but I'm bleeding all over your back seat." By the time we get to the hospital, which was only about 3 minutes away, the cops are there. They have the stretcher ready for me. They rushed me in and started putting tubes in to reinflate my lung and trying to do what they had to do to keep me alive.
What happened to your husband?
Well, he actually went on the run for about a week. He was hiding, and they were telling me they were looking for him, but at the same time, I'm telling them where he is. And for whatever reason, they didn't find him until he placed a call to one of the guys from the gym and asked the boxer, "Would you come pick me up?" And thank goodness that fighter was smart enough to know to call it was the FBI actually. He called him and they immediately put the helicopters in the air and arrested Jim right away.
So I understand that the man who saved you, you call him each November 23rd.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's that conversation like?
I just tell him, thank you. Thank you for being there and stopping. Had he not stopped, I don't know where the next car was coming. The first car that actually passed me turned around and came back. And he said by the time he got back to where I was, Jim was in the front yard. So I didn't have a lot of time to get away. So, it was perfect timing that I had someone come pick me up.
So what was going through your mind at that moment? Because here you are, you were champion of the world and super welterweight and great physical condition. You were, a boxer. And then here you are on the brink of death. I mean, other than thinking, please God, don't let me die, what thoughts went through your mind over the next few days when you realized you weren't going to die?
I was 100% sure that God left me here for a reason, and that reason is to share my story, talk about domestic violence, make people aware that it can happen to anybody. One thing about domestic violence, it doesn't discriminate. It's in every race, religion, socioeconomic class. I really don't think there's anyone out there that doesn't know someone that is in a domestic violence situation. They may not know that they know that person, but you do.
In your Netflix documentary, you say you're never going to get over it. So how do you deal with that and go forward?
I remind myself that I may not ever really become solid again, but if I can help someone else become solid or to not go down that same road that I went down, then I've done my job. And I feel like by helping other people, eventually I will help me and I will put myself back together. It's a process. And even though I feel like I've made huge steps, I still have many more steps to make.
Yeah. The road you don't want them to go down. You mean being a victim?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like, especially when it isn't physical abuse, so many women and men don't realize it until you're so far down that rabbit hole that you don't know how to get back out. And that was the thing with me. It was only physical a few times, but the mental beat down is the hardest thing to get over. I still hear his voice today.
Oh, when did you decide to start Christy's Champs?
I started Christy's Champs in 2016. And the mission is just to help families, whether it be the victim, him or herself, or the children, to help them find another way, to help them see that there are people out here that want to help you, that can help you, and they want to help you. What we're doing right now, our project is we're putting computers in boxing gyms. And I know that some people don't understand the connection between boxing and domestic violence awareness, but it is obvious to me. The kids that are coming into the gym are usually the kids that are in homes that everything isn't just perfect. These are the kids that we need to show love to and attention and break the cycle with these kids. And that's what we're doing. We're, adding the computers, bringing tutors in, mentors, and really trying to make a difference.
You try to preempt it from happening in the first place.
Absolutely. If we can stop the start of domestic violence. And this is where we have to do it. We have to do it with the kids.
But what do you say to a woman who is in an abusive situation?
You have to get ready in your mind that you're ready to leave. This is the most vulnerable time for a woman. Within the 2 weeks of her leaving, it's the most dangerous. This is when about 75% of the homicides in domestic violence occur, is within the 2-week time that a woman leaves. Many times the abuser will hunt her down and kill her. So when you get ready to leave, you have to know that you can leave and don't go back. Women go back 7 times on average.
Wow, 7 times.
And each time, 7 times. 7 times before they actually get away. And some of those, they don't get away. They do get murdered. You have to be strong and know that there are people out there in your community, wherever your community may be, that want to help you and can help you. Lots of times we think there are people that want to help us, but we don't know that they can. but there are organizations in every city that can help you. Christy's Champs is on Facebook, Instagram, all those. We will help you find an organization in your city if we are not there.
So what do you say to someone who's being abused, but who doesn't want to leave?
Wow, that's a tough one, because until you have made that decision in your mind, I can't make the decision for you. Maybe I see you're getting physically or mentally and emotionally abused, but if you haven't realized that, decided that you need to leave, it's hard for me to
Sure.
encourage you, or obviously I can't force you to leave. But so many times women, we get brainwashed, we get convinced that we're not worth it. You know, a lot of times the abuser is, oh, no one else will have you. And you start to believe that and think that this is what I'm worth. Know that your worth is so much greater than someone ever downgrading you or belittling you or make you feel less than what you are. And everybody out there, I mean, we're all superstars.
Can you tell us some stories about people you've helped through Christy's Champs?
There are so many people we reached out to or have come to us and we've helped. I think the most meaningful messages and comments that I get back or have received back would be really from the Netflix documentary. And they were from fathers. And they were from fathers that said, thank you so much for doing this Netflix documentary, because it opened up a floodgate for me to speak to my daughter about domestic violence. We sat and we watched it together, and then it opened up, let's talk. And I was able to tell her that no one should ever lay their hands on you. No one should ever put you down, you know, and if they do, come to me.
Do you ever have any story of someone who had as bad a situation as you did?
I think I've had many people that are in much worse situations.
Much worse than being stabbed and shot?
I remember early on, right after my stabbing and shooting, and I remember meeting a lady that had been shot with a shotgun in her face by her husband.
How did you meet her?
Actually, at a domestic violence awareness event. We were all in Washington, D.C. We were talking to the different senators up there about domestic violence awareness and how we need to really strengthen the laws. And that's one of the things. My niece, her husband put his hands on her. And probably because of my situation, she was smart enough to immediately leave the house and go to the police. But they didn't arrest him. That was in West Virginia. I can't understand that. If he put his hands on her and she had marks where he had put his hands on her, why are these people not being arrested?
Wow. Well, so what can listeners do to make sure their friends and loved ones aren't being abused? And if they are, what they can do about it?
If they are being abused, reach out to your local domestic violence group. If you think you have a friend or a family member that is being abused, just let them know that you're there to listen and not judge. So many people that are in a domestic violence situation, they feel like if they tell someone, they're maybe not going to be believed, or they're going to be judged as, you must be, this is the worst thing in the world. People will say, what did you do to make that happen? Come on. That's like the worst thing that you can say to a domestic violence victim. The people will still say that to me. What did you do to cause him to shoot you?
And what do you answer?
I will just be right up front with it. Are you kidding me? I didn't do anything to cause anyone to shoot me, because that's not how we handle disagreements, or if we don't like someone's actions, we're just not able to go out there and shoot people. That's not the way the world works. And I don't think so. Sometimes I don't really know if they realize what they just said, but when I come back at them, then they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean it like that. Well, no, you did. You said, well, what did I do to cause this action? It's not what I did to cause the action. It's what he did that caused this.
Right.
And that's what happens in all the domestic violence situations. It's his insecurities. It's his or her personality conflicts. It's their issue that they bring on us.
Well, you just said, and her. You mean there are female abusers?
Absolutely. I actually know some males that are physically abused by their female spouse. More times than not, I think the female abuse is manipulative, isolation, it's usually mental with the female to the male, but it is definitely there are a lot of male victims. And of course, it's harder for a guy to say to his buddies, hey, she's hitting me. I mean, that's something that's very hard for a man to do. But we are having more and more men step out and say, I can't take this.
Well, Christy, I want to thank you for being here on American Voices. I mean, this is clearly a situation we need to shed more light on, and your work with Christy's Champs is a great service to people. And I just want to tell you how much I admire what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much.
I've been speaking with former boxing champ Christy Martin. Her book is Fighting for Survival, My Journey Through Boxing Fame, Abuse, Murder, and Resurrection. Really a maddening story.
God has blessed me.
Yeah, well, you can do a lot of good, I'll tell you that.
Thank you, sir.
A lot of good you can do ahead of you by just being who you are and feeling confident in your own journey.
Thank you very much.
To find out more, visit us on Facebook, American Voices with Senator Bill Bradley. And we're also now on Instagram. Hope you'll check us out there too. Follow us. Thank you for listening to American Voices here on my YouTube channel. For more interviews celebrating the goodness and creativity of the American people, click the subscribe button below.